If you logged into YouTube on July 2nd, 2015, you would have seen a video featured on the front page called First Grader Backs Down Homophobe Street Preacher.
Yes, you would have. And you should be proud of her. Obviously, you're not. So, let's do this. Greetings, fellow space travelers. BionicDance here. Today we're talking about VenomGayX, someone we haven't heard from in a very long time. And, as you've seen, he's got a few things to say about a recent viral video.
In this 21-second video, a small child is forced by her parents to carry a gay pride flag up to a street preacher.
I'm sorry, forced? Forced by her parents. Show me. Show me in this 21-second video where you see her parents doing anything, much less forcing a gay pride flag into her hands. Show me. I dare you. And it's not as if parents don't quote-unquote force their kids to do a lot of things.
Is there anyone in here that believes that God can do anything? God can do anything!
I'm just saying, whether you think it's right or not, making an accusation of parents forcing their kids is hypocrisy at best. Especially when, in this case, you have no evidence of it.
The street preacher is neither homophobic, nor does he back down. I'd like to focus on the word homophobe for a moment.
A word which, as we'll soon see, you don't actually understand.
You see, if someone disagrees with bestiality or pedophilia or any other number of sexual perversions, is that person a pedophobe or a beastophobe just because they think it's wrong to have sex with children?
No, because if you actually look up phobia, you'll see that some of the keywords that indicate a phobia are irrational and abnormal, not to mention extreme. Unlike with homosexuality, pedophilia and bestiality have some very rational factors for being against them. For example, consent and harm. Legally, children cannot give consent, and non-humans just plain can't because they wouldn't even understand the question. Harm done to either of them would be without permission. Homosexuals, on the other hand, wouldn't even consider themselves being harmed by making love. And even if they were harmed, everybody has agreed to it and was of sound mind when they did so. Being against pedophilia or bestiality is justice. Being against homosexuality is just prejudice.
Am I a homophobe because I think it's wrong for a man to put his inside another man's?
You're wrong for making your censor bleep so fucking loud. I turned them down for the benefit of my viewers, but when I first watched your video, I nearly jumped out of my skin. It was like the high-pitched whine of a jet engine from 3 feet away. Don't ever do that again. And yes, you are a homophobe. There is a huge difference between thinking it's just icky and saying that it's wrong. A huge difference between not liking something and waging a campaign against it. Especially when it doesn't even affect you. That'd be like screaming at people for liking the color blue instead of red, and trying to have blue banned by the government. As the definition of phobia states, you've gone to an extreme, right off the deep end. So yes, you are a homophobe.
The word homophobe is a PR word, something invented to demonize a certain group of individuals, people who disagree with homosexuality.
Well, that couldn't possibly be more backward. It's the homophobes who are trying to demonize homosexuals, and the rest of us disagree with that. Look how often people who quote-unquote disagree with homosexuality often try to link it to pedophilia, perversion, and some coming apocalypse or other. Look how often religions describe quite horrible things done to homosexuals right in their holy books, in the name of their God. If that's just disagreeing in your world, I'd hate to see active opposition. The demonization only goes in one direction here. We're just trying to get you to play nicely with the other kids. Looks like somebody was never taught to not be bullies.
Now, this small child has no concept of what that flag represents, or what they're even doing there.
Oh, really? And how do you know that? I was given one of these books when I was very little. I knew about sex before I could even read. If this kid has open-minded parents who felt that she could handle knowing a few things about the real world, then she probably knew at the very least that sometimes men fall in love with men and women fall in love with women. And if her parents brought her to this parade, chances are very good they're the sort who would tell her. So who are you to say what she does or doesn't know?
You see, this man is not someone who strikes me as afraid of homosexuals. If he was afraid, he certainly wouldn't go to a gay pride celebration where homosexuals congregate.
And here we go again. Someone who thinks that a phobia is only a fear, forgetting that aversion is one of the other possible causes of homophobia. Even just dislike is enough for a phobia if it's nasty enough. That man seems to me like somebody who really doesn't like homosexuals or homosexuality. Otherwise, he wouldn't be campaigning against it so very strongly.
You see, this man is not afraid of homosexuals. He's afraid of what's going to happen to the homosexuals. He's afraid for them.
You mean what he thinks will happen. Now we're back to proving that your God is real instead of requiring faith. The biggest stumbling block religion has to convincing any reasonable critical thinkers that there is any validity in religion whatsoever.
This man is quite brave. The gay movement is not about equality or love. Don't let them trick you.
First, let's address this apparent beating of a preacher. It starts with him making a repent or go to hell threat. Frankly, I'm surprised how lightly people have taken such obnoxious and hateful language for so long. Second, the fight was inspired by two people. Just two. The crowd consists of more than 100,000. So to say that pride is not about love because of, if my math is correct, 0.02% of the crowd, well, I bow to your logic, sir. Never mind how many gays have been beaten or killed by homophobes throughout even just the last few decades. Never mind history. And all too often those homophobes are theists, motivated by the hatred against gays in their holy books.
What this is about is a very strong hatred for the natural order. It is a hatred for the way God designed the world. A man and a woman married. Homosexual marriage, so-called, is a denial of the first marriage, Adam and Eve.
Do you really think that homosexuality has anything to do with religion? At all? Religion would never have even come up if you God-bothers didn't decide to make a fuss. Homosexuality has nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with Adam and Eve, and it definitely isn't motivated by hatred. I mean, what? Do you think people out there went, "Oh, I hate God so much, I'm gonna go out there and fuck someone of my own sex. That'll show him." Hatred for the way God made the world? Get over yourself. This is what happens when a religion is based around a martyr.
And that is why homosexuality is directly linked to atheism.
Do I even need to comment here? Homosexuality and atheism. Right. 'Cause no religion has ever been open to the idea of being gay. Sure.
That is also why, if you have been on Facebook lately, all the atheists were in support of this homosexual celebration.
Correlation is not causation. Atheists agreeing with something does not mean atheists caused that something.
Because homosexuality and homosexual marriage is an atheistic denial of the biblical view, the traditional view of marriage.
Which, of course, it's not. It might disagree with what you think God says. Connoisseurs of other sky cake flavors think otherwise.
You are sodomite supporters, and you will be judged. In Romans 1 it says,
Oh, who cares what it says in Romans, or anywhere else in the Bible for that matter? That's only going to convince someone if they already think the Bible is true. You have a long road of gathering evidence and presenting proof ahead of you before that book of yours will do you any good in a discussion or a debate.
Atheists somehow recognize that the homosexual movement and the success of it is an attack on Christianity, because Christianity stands for what is true. Did it ever occur to you that every person on the planet owes their life to a non-homosexual union? That we are here because a man and a woman had regular and natural intercourse?
Did it ever occur to you that less than 4% of the U.S. population is gay? I realize you're Canadian, but do the math. I hardly think that the human population is at risk if a few people decide to bump same-sex uglies.
Now, if straight people were to parade through the streets in overtly sexualized manner in front of small children, you would say that this is perverse, insane, and evil.
Uh-oh. Telling me what I would say?
To peddling.
And the fact is that heterosexuals do this. Ever hear of the World Naked Bike Ride or the Fremont Solstice Parade? Body pride events occur all the time, or at least when the weather's warm, and the only people who seem to get their panties in a wad seem to be the uptight Bible thumpers who think the human body is somehow shameful.
But when homosexuals do it, this is liberating and beautiful and progressive. They're here to corrupt the next generation. They're here to corrupt American culture. They're here to corrupt a biblical view of marriage, a biblical view of God. The homosexual movement is a satanic, evil, perverse denial of everything that is good and right.
You know, I almost wish that were true. It would make life so much more exciting being all cloak and daggery against religion. Alas, it's pure fantasy, both for us and them.
My question to the homosexuals who are so pleased with this new acceptance of gay marriage in America is this. Now that you are allowed to, quote-unquote, get married, are you going to wait until you are married to have sex? Probably not.
Well, would you buy a car without test driving it first?
I think it is the homosexuals who are afraid. Afraid of criticism. Afraid of God. Afraid of Christians. Afraid of being wrong. Afraid of being told that what they're doing is wrong.
Then how come you're the ones always terrified of having sinned all the time? Always the ones begging forgiveness for things most of us wouldn't care about, because the only people we could possibly hurt are ourselves. As long as we don't needlessly hurt others, our lives are pretty free of the anxiety that you theists are told you must feel. And yet you think we're the ones scared of being wrong? Pull the other one.
I imagine some people will not like some of the things I've said in this video.
Gee whizzikers, Shawnee boy, whatever would give you that idea? Until next time, fellow space travelers, this is BionicDance saying don't run on automatic. Instead, please think.
So, who wants cake? You have to rate first.